Don't take painkillers before you watch this.
So what are some of the things that you see that are very common that people are getting wrong when it comes to pain?
So you're right. When people get a diagnosis, right, like of arthritis or of a meniscus tear or a bulging disc or a herniated disc in their neck or back, in Western medicine, what happens is the diagnosis gets made, right? It's arthritis, it's a meniscus tear, whatever. And then the thinking stops, right? And what we then go to is just a menu of options that usually looks like anti-inflammatory medications, either over-the-counter ones or prescription ones, and then injectable medications, and then maybe even surgical interventions, arthroscopy or total joint replacement, right? In naturopathic medicine, the way I see it is when a diagnosis gets made, that's when the thinking ought to begin. Like, okay, you have arthritis, okay, you have a disc herniation, but if you have pain, we need to ask some real questions, which is why. One of the big things that we're getting wrong is what I call misattribution or attribution error, where when we see something like arthritis on an image or a meniscus tear on an MRI or a bulging disc on an MRI scan of the back or neck, what immediately happens in the minds of patients and in doctors is that the abnormality on the image is believed to be the cause of the pain, right? It's like, oh, you have back pain and you have a disc herniation. Those two things must be related to each other. It's not the case. That's not true. Lumbar disc herniations often exist in people who have no pain. Meniscus tears frequently exist in people who have no pain. Arthritis, extremely common in people who have no pain. Maybe the disc herniation is part of it, but there's more to that story. So inflammation is one of the leading causes of pain, but it's often underdiagnosed because it doesn't show up on x-rays or on other imaging machines. So this is JJ, and she came to me with severe knee pain that turned out to be caused by inflammation. So she's gonna help us demonstrate today. Thank you so much for being here. Let's take a look at those knees. Okay, so the patient here is lying down. I want you to notice that she can't straighten that leg completely. In fact, there's a gap here underneath the knee in between the table that I can slide my hand right through. And then if she tries to bend her knee and bring it closer to her body, she becomes restricted right there as well. Another common place where inflammation shows up is at the hip. So here we are looking for signs of loss of motion. So to check for internal rotation, you're gonna lay down, rotate one foot inward, and then the other, and then turn both in to see how that feels. Is one side more stiff or restricted than the other? So now let's look at external rotation. So you're gonna sit down just like this and try to cross your right ankle over your left knee like this. Now, if you can't get that ankle to meet that knee, or if you have to bring your leg up like this to do it, that can also be a sign of inflammation in the hip. So now that you know how to spot inflammation, the next question is, what do you do to get rid of it? Keep watching because the solution is a lot simpler than you'd think, and you can do it right from home. Hey, I'm Dr. Josh Levitt, and that awful noise that you just heard, it could be the explanation of why your joints feel the way that they do and the answer to how to heal them. And what I'm about to show you could explain why your joint pain won't go away, even if your cartilage is gone, even if you've tried physical therapy, painkillers, or even surgery. Let me show you. This, how I'm sitting right now with this microphone, is how a normal microphone and speaker setup works. The mic picks up the sound, and then the speaker plays it back. Simple, right? But watch what happens when this mic gets too close. That sound, that horrible screech, that's what pain would sound like in your joints when your joints are literally feeding on themselves. Let me explain. Just like this feedback loop causes a sound that's uncomfortable to our ears, there is a hidden process that's happening inside your joints that's doing the exact same thing. And it's called nerve growth factor. We call it NGF for short. And it's one of the most terrifying things that I see in patients who've been told that they are bone on bone, because NGF is like fertilizer for pain in nerves. It tells your body to grow new nerve endings, which sounds like a good thing, right? But it is definitely not, because those new nerve endings in your joints are not supposed to be there. You see, they're growing in places where they were never meant to be, inside cartilage, inside the joint lining, wrapped around tiny blood vessels in there. These nerves do not belong there. And now, since they are there, you're feeling way more pain than you should. And it's all because of that NGF, that nerve growth factor. You see, when inflammation lingers for too long, especially after an injury, stress, or even just advancing age, NGF goes into overdrive and it starts telling your body, grow more nerves, amplify the signal, make it louder. And suddenly you're stuck in a biological feedback loop, just like the one that I just showed you with this microphone. One signal triggers another, one jolt of pain amplifies the next, one flare-up becomes your new baseline, just like this. Okay, I promise I won't do that again, but this is why the things that you've been trying haven't worked, or if they did work, they didn't last long. That's why cortisone doesn't last, why stretching only helps for a few hours or maybe a day, why your joints still hurt even after a surgical replacement. Because you're not just dealing with damaged cartilage, you're dealing with a nervous system that has literally been rewired to feel more pain. Now here's the good news. Watch this. I can unplug this mic and the noise stops. And just like I can unplug this mic and kill that screech, we can do the same thing inside your joints. We can quiet those rogue nerves. We can shut down NGF signaling and we can end that cycle. I've seen this happen in my patients who were days away from surgery and now they're walking, hiking, gardening, pain-free. And that feedback loop, it's gone. So if you've tried everything and nothing works, if you're stuck in pain and no one can explain why, it might just be this, a loop that you didn't know existed until right now. And if you're ready to learn how to finally turn it off, I want to show you how. But why should you listen to me? Well, my name is Dr. Josh Levitt. I am a board-certified naturopathic physician. I'm the founder of Up Wellness, one of the most well-respected natural health companies in the country. And for the last 20 years, I've run a clinic here in New England where I have personally treated thousands of patients dealing with everything from mild joint soreness to full-blown bone-on-bone cases that most doctors had already written off as hopeless. I've seen the scared looks that people give me when they think that surgery is the only option they have left. I've also seen the tears of frustration and later the tears of joy when they realize that there is another way. I've worked with world-class athletes, with weekend warriors, teachers, truck drivers, grandmothers, military veterans, and if there's one thing that I've learned, it's this. Nobody wants to live in pain, but most people don't know where to turn when the usual options fail. They try stretching, physical therapy, cortisone shots, and nothing seems to stick. So they start to believe what that x-ray tells them, that their joint is done, that the pain is now a permanent part of their life, that it's only a matter of time before the scalpel comes out. But I'm here today because I've seen something different. I've seen people who were told that they were bone on bone, people who were just weeks away from surgery, cancel their operation and return to pain-free living. Not because of some miracle, but because we finally addressed what most doctors miss, the 4 hidden forces that created that damage in the first place. And let me tell you, that screeching sound, that NGF inside your joints, this is just one of those 4 things. I'm gonna show you what the other 3 are and how you can stop them all with a single daily ritual that takes no time at all. And I don't wanna waste any more of your time. I wanna tell you about them right now. So let me ask you something that might sound a little bit strange. What if your joint pain, the stiffness, the aching, that bone-on-bone grinding, everything that makes every movement feel like a punishment, what if it wasn't caused by your age or by your weight or even the wear and tear that you've been told is to blame? What if those x-rays showing nothing left between your bones was missing the bigger picture? Because as a doctor who's treated thousands of joint pain cases over the last 20 years, I can tell you with absolute certainty, there's something else that's going on inside your joints, and it's something far more destructive than aging cartilage and far more dangerous than just inflammation. Think about this. There are people that are older than you, people that are heavier than you, people who have put their joints through way more of a beating than you, who still have rock solid joints and and healthy cartilage. So if the wear and tear and the old age were the automatic death sentence for joints that we're told that they are, then wouldn't everybody be suffering? But that's not the case. See, when I look at someone's knees or shoulders or hips under the microscope, what I often find isn't just one issue, it's 4 issues. And I know that that's not what anybody wants to hear, but it's the truth. And once I show this to you, you won't be able to unsee it, because there are 4 hidden biological forces that are working together silently and aggressively to destroy your joints from the inside out. And once these 4 forces show up, that's when your cartilage breaks down faster than your body can repair it. That's when your nerves start firing off pain signals 24/7. That's when your joints swell and they stiffen and they dry out. And that's when you enter what I call the joint pain apocalypse. Because these aren't just random malfunctions inside your body. They are a coordinated system, a self-feeding, unstoppable chain reaction. And it might sound a little corny, I understand that, but I call these the 4 horsemen of that joint pain apocalypse. And once you meet them, you will understand why most treatments don't work and why what I'm about to show you is different. So let me quickly show you what they are and why these 4 things are what you should be focused on to solve your bone-on-bone joints and nothing else. So let's start with the first horseman. Let's call him the fire starter, or by the scientific name, NF-kappa B. Now, this is the one that most people think they understand, but they don't. Now, you've probably heard of inflammation, right? If you've got sore joints, then of course you know what inflammation is. Well, NF-kappa B is the molecular switch that turns on the furnace of inflammation in your body. And once it's on, it doesn't shut off on its own. It tells your immune system to flood the joint with cytokines with names like IL-1 beta, TNF alpha. These are chemicals that literally melt the collagen and the proteoglycans that make up the cushion that is your cartilage. Now, over time, NF-kappa B turns your joint into a slow roasting fire pit of torture. For any of you who are Lord of the Ring fans, you can think of this like the fires of Mordor. They're just endlessly burning, where tissues just cook slowly until there's nothing left between those bones but pain. Now, this brings us to horseman number 2, and we're going to call that one the cartilage butcher. Now, did you know that your joints can have something that looks like an allergic reaction? I know it sounds strange, but it's absolutely true. You have special immune cells in your body that are called mast cells. Now, these are the same cells that are involved in allergies. When you come in contact with pollen or dust, it's mast cells that release histamine, and that makes your eyes water, your nose run, your skin itch. Now, here's what most people don't know. Those very same mast cells are hiding inside your joints. And when they get triggered by inflammation or by stress or even by past injuries, they don't just make you sneeze. They release an enzyme, and that enzyme is called tryptase. And tryptase is brutal on your joints. It doesn't just cause pain. It chews through cartilage like an axe blade that this horseman is carrying around on his horse, hunting down the collagen, the soft tissue, that elastic cushion that keeps your joints from grinding. And then it just gets worse, because once one mast cell dumps tryptase into the joint, it attracts more mast cells. And then we release more tryptase, creating this internal loop of destruction that your body just can't turn off. And that's why I call this horseman the cartilage butcher, because it's like having a rogue surgeon inside your knee or your hip that keeps carving away at your cartilage day after day, whether you're walking or resting or even sleeping. And unless you stop this allergic style immune reaction at the source, that joint destruction never stops. Now, that brings us to the third horseman, and I call this one the nerve invader. Now, here is something that no one tells you. In patients with chronic joint degeneration, your body actually starts to grow new nerve endings in places where they don't belong. Now, this process is called neo-innervation, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Your joint is being rewired from the inside out. You see, your cartilage isn't supposed to feel pain. It has no nerves, no pain receptors, no blood vessels. That's why in a healthy joint, even when cartilage starts to thin out, some people might not feel a thing at all. But then something strange starts to happen. And this is something that researchers have only recently stumbled upon. your body starts growing new nerve endings in places they were never meant to be. And while we're still really not sure exactly why this happens, we know that it happens. These new nerves do not belong there. They are not part of your original anatomy, and they weren't there when your joints were working smoothly. So what's causing them to show up now? Well, it's another molecule, and it's called NGF, which stands for nerve growth factor. You can think of NGF just like fertilizer, nerve fertilizer, which sounds like a good thing, and in many cases it is. It's part of the healing process in your body. It's a powerful protein that your body releases during an injury and during inflammation to stimulate the growth of nerves. But in chronically inflamed joints, the kind where Horseman 1 and 2 are already causing damage, this NGF goes into overdrive, and that's when this invasion begins. Nerve fibers start to sprout, just like weeds, through damaged cartilage. They dig into the synovial lining, which is the soft membrane that surrounds your entire joint, and they even begin to wrap around tiny blood vessels, and that increases the sensitivity of your pain signals. And now, every step, every twist, every movement, no matter how small, lights up your pain system just like a fire alarm. And because NGF also sensitizes nerves to pressure, to temperature, and to inflammation, any motion, even the mildest motion, can feel sharp or throbbing or electrical. Now, this isn't just inflammation anymore. It's not even just joint damage. It's a full-blown neurological remodeling of your pain system. And the more it continues, the worse it gets, because now your joint isn't just damaged, it's hyper-wired for pain. And unless you address this hidden nerve growth directly and stop NGF from taking over, no amount of ice or rest or painkillers is gonna make a dent in this pain. Okay, finally, we are at the fourth horseman, the one that I call the zombie horseman. Now, this last horseman is the most dangerous. You can think of this one almost like the final boss of joint pain, because this horseman is not a foreign invader or something that's slicing and dicing your cartilage. Those horsemen actually kill your cells, and this one brings them back from the dead like zombies. They are called senescent cells, and yes, many doctors and health practitioners refer to these as zombie cells, as sort of a quasi-clinical term. Now, here's what's going on. As we age, many cells inside the joint become senescent. That means they stop working, and your body should remove them, but it doesn't. Instead, they sit there, spewing out inflammatory waste, enzymes, and tissue-destroying chemicals with names like MMPs and ADAMTs. It's a long-winded way of saying that they are turning your joints into a toxic dumping ground where healing is essentially impossible. Now, your body knows this, and it doesn't try to fight back, and it kicks your immune system into high gear, but that only makes things worse. You see, each of these horsemen triggers the next. The fire starter wakes up the cartilage butcher. The butcher summons the nerve invader. And then once they've done your work, wreaking havoc inside your joints, those zombie cells come back to life to flood that joint with waste. And then the cycle repeats itself until your joint is bone on bone. And that's why stretching is not going to help. This is why surgery often fails. This is why supplements that only block inflammation never solve the core of the problem, because unless you deal with all four of those horsemen at once, that pain just keeps coming back. That's the real reason that your knees, your hips, or your shoulders haven't healed, and why what I'm about to show you now has helped so many people finally break that cycle and start moving again like nothing was ever wrong. If those four horsemen are wreaking havoc inside your joints, the real tragedy isn't that they exist, it's that they are your own cells that have turned against you, your nerves, your immune system, your cartilage cells, your very own aging zombie cells. And just like in any war, no one really wins. And that's why pills and surgery so often fail. They're not designed to fight this type of battle. They just suppress it temporarily while that war rages on underneath the surface. But what if we could do something better? What if we could call up those four horsemen and negotiate a ceasefire? What if we could teach your own cells to stand down and to actually start healing? And that's exactly what this solution does. It's called the cellular ceasefire method, and the way it works is by sending biological signals that tell your most overactive cells, you can stop now, you're safe, the attack is over. Here's how this works. The first step is pouring cold water all over that fire starter horseman. The fire of inflammation was started by NF-kappa B. That's the molecule telling every system to start fighting. But we can stop that fight with something I know that you've probably heard of called curcumin. Curcumin acts like a peace negotiator. It flips off that NF-kappa B switch, and that lowers the cytokine levels and allows the inflammation in your joints to cool off naturally. In fact, in some studies, curcumin has been shown to turn off NF-kappa B completely, and lots of clinical studies in real people show that it reduces joint damage and pain remarkably well. Now, my preference here is not just any curcumin. I've found over and over again, and in many studies that back me up on this, that a specialized form of curcumin that's called BCM95 works better than any other curcumin on the market. Now, the second step, we must retrain your immune system. Remember those mast cells that are causing that allergic style butchering attack on your cartilage? Well, it turns out that we actually have a nutrient that is fantastic at having that butcher just back off, and it's called quercetin. And quercetin calms histamine release. It blocks tryptase, like sending those hot-headed soldiers back to the base before they burn down the village. And in clinical studies, quercetin has been shown to outperform pharmaceutical mast cell blockers by cutting off the histamine and the tryptase that fuel that joint inflammation and that cartilage butchering right at the source. Multiple studies in peer-reviewed journals have shown that quercetin is extremely effective at blocking mast cells, and that's why it's so effective and so commonly used for allergies. Now, those studies also show that it significantly reduces histamine and tryptase release, and those are the two chemicals that are responsible for allergic inflammation and cartilage breakdown. Now, step 3 is to stop those rogue nerve signals from invading your joints. Remember, we've got to stop that nerve growth factor, NGF, from sprouting new nerves like a weed. And there are no two better weed killers than Boswellia and magnesium. So Boswellia contains something called AKBA, which has been shown to shrink the levels of NGF and of tryptase. Now, there was a double-blind trial in 2008 that also found that patients who take Boswellia had a significant reduction in knee pain and in swelling that started in just 7 days. And the added bonus is that Boswellia has also been shown to repair and smooth out the damage that's done by tryptase, which is the cartilage butchering enzyme I've been talking about here today. And magnesium, that's no slouch either. It works to calm overactive nerves and make them less sensitive to pain signals. So with that duo, the nerves stop shouting and silence returns to your system. And then finally, in step 4, it's time to clear out that battlefield so that the dead soldiers don't come back to life like zombies. Now, those zombie cells and their toxic sludge, they really don't like bromelain. You can think of it like garlic and sunlight for vampires. And that's because bromelain has been shown in studies to break down fibrotic tissue just like a cleanup crew inside your joints. It helps to bring back mobility and lower how much stiffness you actually feel. So with this cellular ceasefire method in place, the inflammation slows, the swelling fades, the pain softens, and then the real healing begins. That's how you turn a battleground back into a functioning joint, not by fighting harder, but by making peace with the systems that are inside of you. And in just a moment, I'm going to show you exactly how you can activate this natural ceasefire. Now, if you're like most of my patients, right now you're probably thinking, okay, this makes a lot of sense, but how do I actually do this? And that is a very fair question, because as powerful as this cellular ceasefire method is, actually putting it into practice on your own, that's where things get tricky. You need to source high purity, high potency, bioavailable versions of ingredients like curcumin, quercetin, boswellia, and bromelain in the right clinical dosages with the right absorption enhancers, and then take them all in the exact combination that's been shown to work. Now, not only would that cost you hundreds of dollars a month, but if you get the ratios wrong, or if you get a low quality form of them, and when these nutrients are in the wrong form, they might not work at all. And that's exactly the problem that I've run into here in this clinic. Patients who desperately needed help, but couldn't find a single supplement that targeted all 4 of those horsemen at once. So I decided to build one myself, something that was powerful enough to use in my own clinical practice, but simple enough for anyone just to take from home. And it's called Golden Revive Plus, and it is not just another joint supplement. In fact, if you've ever heard of Up Wellness, the natural health company that I founded, then you probably already know the name. Golden Revive Plus is our flagship formula. It's the product that put us on the map, and I am just as proud of it today as I was years ago when it became one of the best-selling joint formulas on the internet. It's been used by over 500,000 people across the United States with thousands of 5-star reviews, hundreds of thank you letters, and countless success stories from people who were just like you, stuck in a body that hurt every time they moved and desperate for something that actually worked. Let me share some of them with you right now.
I was going to be scheduling double foot surgery after 3 years of hardly being able to walk. I was told, and the x-rays showed, that I was bone on bone. And after all of those years, it only took 3 days, and I didn't have any pain at all.
I can walk that 1.5 miles that my doctor wants me to walk. I have mobility without pain. I don't wake up in the middle of the night anymore with pain, which was just so wonderful.
I'm 65 years old. I've had a frozen hip since I was 50, a lot of pain. I've tried a lot of therapies, but when I found this is great stuff.
I've tried it and it's working. It's been much, much better. Finally, I'm not aching, at night, where before it was getting to be so constant.
It's made all the difference in my life. I don't wake up with stiff joints and aching body like I used to.
I went skiing for 5 days in a row. I mean, it was marvelous. I didn't even think about my knees for, during the day, which was remarkable because for at least 2.5 years, there was no other thought in my head.
And there's one more person who uses Golden Revive, and that's me. Yes, I know it's hard to believe, but I am not as young as I used to be. And as they say, the good doctor should take the advice that he gives to his own patients. So even though I'm not, thankfully, struggling as badly with my joints as some of my patients are, the nutrients inside Golden Revive Plus are so good at protecting joints that yes, I take it too. And it's still the first thing that I recommend when someone walks into my clinic with knee pain, back pain, or shoulders that just don't move like they used to. Because unlike most joint supplements that just try to block inflammation, Golden Revive Plus was built to do something bigger, something broader. This is not a temporary Band-Aid solution. It's not a painkiller. It's not another single ingredient supplement that's sourced from another country, jazzed up with a fancy label. Golden Revive Plus was specifically designed to target the 4 root causes of joint pain, those 4 horsemen that we just talked about, and help your body finally turn off that destruction and turn on repair. And it does all of this in just one simple capsule that you take twice per day. So what's in it? Well, I have a feeling you can guess some of these. Curcumin to shut down the fire starter by flipping off NF-kappa B and cooling the inflammation furnace at the level of the genetics. Quercetin to calm the cartilage busher by blocking histamine, stopping tryptase, and retraining your immune system to stop attacking your joints. Boswellia and magnesium, which are the perfect pair to silence that nerve invader by lowering NGF and dialing down oversensitized pain signals. And bromelain to clear out the zombie horsemen from the battlefield by removing senescent cells and breaking down the toxic debris that they leave behind. Each one of those ingredients mapped directly to its target, each one backed by research, each one working together to help your body finally call a ceasefire and start healing from the inside out. And you can trust that each one of the ingredients that we use in Golden Revive Plus was sourced ethically and in the exact right amounts that the studies say that they need to be. But even more important than the dose is the form. Take our curcumin, for example. Most joint supplements use generic turmeric powder or a very basic curcumin extract, which your body can barely absorb. But Golden Revive Plus includes BCM95 curcumin. It's a patented form that's been shown in studies to be up to 7 times more bioavailable than standard curcumin. And that means that it gets into your system faster, it stays into your bloodstream longer, and it actually reaches your joints where it can finally do its job. Same goes for our Boswellia. We don't use cheap powdered versions that fill the shelves in the big box stores. We use a concentrated extract that is standardized to include the most powerful active compound in Boswellia to deliver maximum inflammation fighting results. And this isn't just true for 1 or 2 ingredients. Every single ingredient in Golden Revive Plus, including quercetin, bromelain, magnesium, and piperine, rigorously tested for purity and potency in every single batch that we make. Because when you're trying to calm down inflammation, repair tissue, and reclaim your mobility, cutting corners is just not an option. Now, I want to be clear about something. Golden Revive Plus isn't a trendy new turmeric pill. It's not a gimmick with fancy packaging that ends up buried in the back of your supplement drawer. This formula was built personally by me to solve a real problem that I see every single day with real patients. And today, if you're dealing with joint pain, if you're sick of stiffness in the morning, if every walk, every step, every movement that you make makes you wince, I want you to hear the words that I tell to them. You do not have to live like this anymore, because Golden Revive Plus is your chance to fight back and finally feel like you again. Now, I'll be honest, Golden Revive Plus isn't the cheapest joint supplement on the market. And you know what? I don't hide from that at all. Quality costs money, and everyone knows that. You buy a cheap pair of shoes and you expect that they're gonna wear out quickly. They're also not the shoes that you're gonna wear to a nice dinner with your husband or your wife. Golden Revive wasn't made to be priced to sell. It was made to be effective. And yet, and I'm really grateful for this, it does sell incredibly well. We've even had several times where we've had to take it off the market because we were waiting for more inventory to come in. It was made to be high quality so that it works. Now, that also doesn't mean that it's an expensive supplement either. I want to give you back the freedom that the pain has stolen from you, but I don't want price to be the reason you say no. So here's what we're doing today. We give every new customer the chance to try 1 bottle of Golden Revive for just $59.95. You get 1 bottle at a fair price, you try it, and I'm willing to bet that it works so well that you're gonna want more. Except when you come back to buy more, you're actually gonna pay less, because when customers add 3 bottles, they get it for just $49.95 per bottle. That saves over $30. And your money goes even further if you get a 6-month supply for just $39.95 per bottle. Now that's nearly 30% off. So you could grab the single bottle option today and give it a try. Or if you've heard enough about it today, you can jump right into savings and get 3 or 6 bottles. Each bottle comes with a full 30-day supply, and every order is backed by our 60-day results or refund money-back guarantee. Try it, use it, and if you don't start feeling the difference in your knees, your back, your shoulders, your hips, if the stiffness doesn't start to fade, if the soreness doesn't begin to ease up, if you don't start moving more freely, you just send it back. Even if the bottle's empty, we will give you every penny back. No questions, no hoops, no problem. Because I've seen it too many times to count, and I'll tell you what I tell every patient who sits across from me in the clinic. Right now, you're standing at a fork in the road. One path leads to more of the same, more stiffness, more hesitating at the top of the stairs, more avoiding walks, more conversations with your partner about the possibility of surgery. And the other path, that one leads to relief, to stepping out of bed without wincing, to bending down without grunting and groaning, to walking with confidence and not fear, and to feeling like yourself again. Golden Revive Plus is your chance to take that other path, and you don't have to wait months to feel it. Most of my patients begin to notice a difference in just 7 to 10 days. The creaking softens, that swelling calms down, and that tension that you feel in your joints, the kind that you forgot wasn't normal, it starts to disappear. So right now you're gonna see a button below this video, and that button is gonna take you to a page where you get to choose the savings. Like I said, a 1-bottle trial is totally fine, but do you know the #1 favorite thing that my patients love about Golden Revive Plus? It works better the longer they take it. And that means the #1 way to get the best results with Golden Revive Plus is to take it consistently, which is why the 3 and 6 bottle bundles make so much sense and why we price them the lowest we can possibly do. So go ahead, click that button below, choose the bundle that's right for you, and ask yourself what life would look like if stiff, sore, bone-on-bone joints just weren't a part of your life anymore.
Scan now to get this exclusive offer.